The Council has agreed to an investigation of the city's summer hiring practices of young people. The Council made the decision for the investigation after Councilman Fred Zeder said that the city is falling far short of its responsibilities of hiring disadvantaged youth in its summer job programs. After the Council meeting, Zeder explained more fully why he feels there is a need for such an investigation.
We have some 4,000 disadvantaged youngsters that are going to be looking for jobs in the city of Dallas this summer. And we've had magnificent cooperation from industry in hiring these, pledging to hire these children. Now, if we can keep them off the street this summer, it's going to make a much more pleasant place in Dallas for all of us. And the city just has not come through the way I had expected them to, particularly in the parks department, where these youngsters should be put to work this summer, and I'm going to find out why they haven't hired as many as they should.
City Manager Scott McDonald said after today's meeting that as far as he knows, there has been no willful attempt on the part of the city to keep disadvantaged youth from the city's summer job programs. Also today, the Council took an action which is rare for a governing body. It agreed to reduce taxes. Only in this case, the reduction won't affect very many people, only those who own bicycles within the city. The Council passed an ordinance which has eliminated the requirement that bicycle owners have a license plate on their bikes. The reason for the change was that the old law simply was not worth it. And besides, the bicycle fees in the old law brought in less than $8,000 a year. And so hereafter, Dallas bicycle owners won't have to pay 75 cents once every 2 years for a new license for their bicycle. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
The Council voted to pay McDonald Transit Management a total of $80,004 per year by approving a 2-year contract with the firm. The company is presently operating bus systems for the cities of Akron and Canton, Ohio. The president of the firm, Alton McDonald, told me of the improvements Fort Worth citizens can expect to see when the city takes over the bus system July 16th.
Well, I think the thing that we can look forward to first is some improvement in the mechanical condition of the present fleet of buses. There are a great many engine overhauls to be done, servicing of a sort that would tend to minimize the black diesel smoke that's so objectionable to people. We would hope to paint as soon as possible any buses which will be kept for a sufficiently long time to make them make it worthwhile. Some of the buses have inoperative air conditioning equipment which must be put back to work.
Important to the current employees of the transit system is that their salaries are expected to be increased. Unionization is expected, which will produce additional benefits such as retirement and insurance. New buses for the system are expected to be in use by early 1973. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move in Fort Worth.
The Temporary Credentials Committee met late into the night on Sunday night. They've been grinding on since 9 o'clock this morning with all the best traditions of smoky ceilinged rooms and harsh comments. Among the challenges from Dallas County was from the 23rd, and the challenger was Andy Little of Grand Prairie.
It all boils down to a matter of arithmetic. We are entitled to 15 additional delegates. We intend to get 15 additional delegates. This is not a serious challenge. It is not a contentious or obstreperous challenge. It is a very serious challenge that could end up before a federal grand jury, and it is something that might put some people into POCUS. That's all.
What this is all about is who gets how many delegates when all the smoke is cleared and the convention is concluded. That we will ultimately know tomorrow when the convention itself gets underway. There's a 2 o'clock meeting this afternoon of the State Democratic Executive Committee. There's very little probability that the results will be known here in time for that meeting, so they've already set another meeting for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. As is frequent at places like this, there were rumors today that this meeting would intentionally be extended so that the 2 o'clock meeting would be missed by many of the delegates here. That, however, has been avoided. This meeting will adjourn, and it will resume again after the SDEC meeting. Jerry Taff, Channel 8 News on the Move, at the State Democratic Convention in San Antonio.
Now, let me... And who else? Well, they'll have to, your chairman will have to get that. How you doing? Is there anything...
Well, that may be
Some of it will be in cash, a lot of it will be by dispersing orders. We go through several phases of disaster relief. Right now we're in the emergency phase, obviously. Mass care, mass food, mass clothing, mass shelter. Then we begin working individually with the families to find out what they need on a long-range basis. Caseworkers will be taken in. We already have 60 there. There'll be many more. They will talk to the family about their needs. What do they need as a result of the disaster? And then we'll give them long-range assistance.
Now, in addition, Mr. Shannon, to giving them the cash, is there any collection agency for food, clothing, things of this nature that people might be able to give?
No, we find it much better to purchase the food and clothing on a local basis because this rehabilitates the businessman as well as the victim of the disaster, and then it's a much simpler, much more economic thing. So we're not asking for food or clothing.
I know quite often citizens can give up food and clothing easier than cash.
Yes, this is true. But it creates a problem of transportation, a problem of storage, and all the rest of it.
Personally, I understand that you don't like to be platooned.
No, I don't think that. I don't think anyone likes to be platooned. It's a tough job for anyone. When you've got 25 ball players, you certainly can't satisfy all of them. And just my short experience in Venezuela managing a ball club where you only had to worry about 10 guys, it's still hard to satisfy everyone. And if each guy here didn't believe that he should be playing every day, then he doesn't really belong here. So if you can accept the fact and do the best you can, that's about all you can really do at this stage. I honestly, look for pitches until I get 2 strikes on me. And I made the statement that I think most hitters do, because I don't see how you can go up there and face a pitcher that throws a good fastball, a slider, and a curveball, and say I'm not looking for something, and still be able to react to all three of them. And the only point that I made was that you'd have to be a super hitter, someone like Ted Williams, or have a heck of a lot more ability than I've got to be able to say that you don't guess on certain pitches. Now, sometimes I do go up and just look for the ball. Sometimes if I'm going bad, I just, look for the ball. But if I'm going good, I look on situations. I try to gauge what I did the time before. If the pitcher's got me out on a certain pitch before, then I'll look for something else, or vice versa. If I've gotten a hit, then maybe I'll look. And I think it's a guessing game. It's the same way catching. You're trying to remember how you pitched the previous hitter, what he did, and then try to do something differently.
Well, we feel very strongly that capital punishment should be re-implemented. We have it on the statutes of our state. Some of our federal judiciary have given stays, many stays, to some of the people awaiting execution. In fact, if I recall correctly, we haven't had an execution in Texas since 1964 or 65. I think that capital punishment is appropriate. I think it's proper when it's commensurate with the crime that has been committed, and I think it creates a great deterrent that we need to the commission of a major offense in Texas.
The politicking is going hot and heavy here tonight. Hubert Humphrey reportedly has now arrived. Ed Muskie was reported here earlier in the day. Pierre Solinger is here. Sissy Farenthold, Ralph Yarbrough, a very impressive number of people. Tonight, the caucuses will go on virtually all night. A black caucus has had a chime change. Few people have been notified of that other than blacks, and there is a rumor now that they may walk out tomorrow. The Texas Women's Political Caucus says that they are going on to the national convention and that there's the very real possibility that they're going to cause a stir when they get there.
Now, we would like to see these women, 23 more is what I've asked for, to be given their delegateships, and as far as bumping them in, we don't care which ones there are within the presidential preferences, but just long as we get our adequate number.
There are also rumors that the Wallace delegation will go to the national convention and then they will walk out. However, I've talked with a number of officials from that group tonight. They say that's nothing more than wishful thinking on the part of somebody. Tomorrow morning, when the convention itself gets underway, a straw vote will be held, and as the projections go right now, there will be approximately 30% delegate strength for Wallace, 30% for McGovern, 10% for Humphrey, and 30% uncommitted. Jerry Taff, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Democratic Convention in San Antonio.
So who's worried about unity? Certainly not the Republicans meeting here in Galveston, at least not to hear them tell it, even though virtually the whole theme of this meeting is unity. It would seem there's not much else the GOP would care to talk about, with the exception of John Connally, who apparently remains a hopeful cipher to both Democrats and Republicans. National Committeewoman Anne Armstrong said today she couldn't think of a position Connally couldn't hold, and said somewhat wistfully that he might switch parties. But even Mrs. Armstrong took a swing at the unity challenge.
We're not used to putting the Band-Aids on as fast afterwards as the Democrats, but we're getting there, and I don't see any deep, difficult schisms in this party at all. We've got Grover here, meeting with Tower, meeting with party leaders. The Nixon people have been down here. Bob Mardian, very high in the Nixon campaign, is here. We are pulling together. We are smart enough to realize that we are very low in numbers. If we don't guard our asset of unity, we've had it.
Senator John Tower is also at the convention, as he says, as a delegate from Wichita County. He says Republicans will have virtually no trouble in November, and says he'll urge Republicans to love one another.
Well, I think that we do have, generally speaking, a good spirit of party unity. That's not to say that we don't have problems. I think that there's a spirit of optimism in the party that is going to prevent it from dissolving into factional strife, because I believe everybody feels challenged by the prospects for a Nixon victory in Texas, by the prospects for my re-election, and the prospects to elect a Republican governor.
Of course, the actual infighting doesn't start until the convention formally gets underway tomorrow. At least one congressional district delegation, the third, one of the largest ones here, stole a jump on the rest of the convention by caucusing this evening. That would seem to indicate that matters here at the Republican State Convention may be even more cut and dried than they seemed at the first. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move, in Galveston.